Good day, everybody. My name is Imantrek, representing Red Bokeh Society podcast with my homegirl Natasha and my homeboy Truth. It's going to be very, I wouldn't say polarizing. It was going to be very interesting. We're going to be able to agree to disagree, get our different discourses out there, our different talking points. And I just hope you guys enjoy the journey because I don't know where this is going to go, but that's the great thing about art broadcasting and how it melds together. So I'm going to give it to my boy Truth, and we can go forth with this podcast. Red Bokeh basically means the blur and the blood. Bokeh, the red represents the blood, of course, and the beauty of that blur. And we're going to get in between that blur and explain what may polarize people and what really keeps us together and what has us, while we're really all the same. And we just need to like bridge that gap. And hopefully this podcast and these discussions and these dialogues and the interesting guests, hopefully down the line, would shed light on what we're talking about. So Truth, it's on you, man.
Wow, that's awesome. I just feel like I totally get it so much more. Like getting past using the fact that we all bleed red blood,
Yeah.
to get past the blur and the artistic confusion and all of that. So wow, it really does apply so well to what we're doing here as well. Yeah, so I'm Truth. I'm in New York right now. I'm from New York. I'm in my house, like my parents' house I grew up in. Known Natasha for many years. Just now meeting Trek, really stoked about the connection and the ability to, again, agree to disagree. Most of the time we're going to agree anyway, because that's really what being a human being is about, is, moving forward from what you already agree with and what you agree needs to get done and doing something. Mm-hmm. And so this conversation I look at as a platform for people who don't necessarily always agree about details and see eye to eye about some big things, find the places where they do see eye to eye and want to make the world better.
Well said, man. Well said.
And hey, it's Natasha Pelak here. I'm really honored to be included with all of y'all. And we had a really successful conversation last week, which was spawned off of the kneeling of the flag post that I made on Facebook and exploded. And we then set forth an intention to create positive dialogue amongst people that have like different viewpoints, whether it's moderate, right, left, whatever, to come together. Because there's a lot of different implications in our life that we were not really prepared for. And one of the first subjects that we're going to go into today is how this whole COVID-19 thing has sort of shifted everything and has created even of a more polarizing environment than what we had before, completely. Because then we went into riots because people were cooped up. And I'd like to, I don't know, I want to know where you guys are both at right now when it comes to COVID-19. We're still sort of quarantined, we're still kind of restricted. Where is everybody at right now?
Perfect. Trek?
Oh, I don't know.
Can you guys hear me well?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
I'm having like a stuttering problem. Okay, you having a problem, Truth?
No.
Okay. So basically you want to know about the effects of COVID, like from my track, basically? All right, basically, from its inception, I'll be a little honest with you guys. I remember one thing that Truth said last time weighed on my heart. He said he's biblically right. And I don't know if I'm biblically right, but I like to be biblically read up. I don't know everything. I don't know anything. But the one thing I did know, it felt like it was almost biblical, if you will. I don't want to make every plague, because it seems every time we have an election cycle, there seems to be some type of plague or some type of Ebola or whatever. But this one felt a little special. And I remember when it first came out, Africa really didn't have COVID problem. And I'm just looking at it like, wow, could this be some type of scourge that the Bible speaks of? And so I took it from that point of view, right? So I seen it go from that and that one Cameroonian dude getting so-called corona, and he so-called cured himself within like 2 weeks, and the whole world went crazy. So then you had all the people on the far left, the so-called Hebrew Israelites saying, "See, this is a gift from God. This is for us being treated so badly." And I seen it from that side, but then I seen eventually it became an attack economically. Eventually it became people from Florida, people from Louisiana. I think Natasha even said something about Florida people being quarantined if they're coming back to Pennsylvania. I've seen things like that. So I've seen like COVID it was first used to attack Asian people. I don't agree with that narrative either because things happen, whatever. But it was first an attack on them. But then even Asians that were attacked started attacking black people. And it was so bad in Japan, I believe, or China, there was a McDonald's that said no black people need come in per management up or top. So it's like, and that was actually a viral story. So I see it like that. So now I see a lot of poor white people, a lot of poor black people, a lot of poor brown people who don't have money saved up in the bank. They don't have the nest eggs accounts to fall back on. So I see them literally going to jail for things like, again, child support, things like parking tickets, things like literally every time I walk down the block in Allentown, 10 cars have parking tickets. Why? Because everyone's got to make up. It's almost like everyone got to make their quotas back. So I see COVID as not only a pharmaceutical hijack or hustle, but now it's an economical one too, where people are literally, there's a domino effect that goes beyond and transcends health. So, I mean, I know I don't want to be long-winded, but that's my personal thing on COVID. It was first used to attack Asians and then blacks, and now it's being used to like make people who have the cure, so-called cure, $20 a pop, $3,100 for procedural cure, and that's crazy. This wasn't planned, and just like True said, minutes after George Floyd his body wasn't even cold. People have all these elaborate protests. Where's all this organizing coming from? I mean, sorry to go long, guys, but cut it up if you want, but that's how I feel about the whole COVID thing. It raises more questions than answers. Sorry.
Yeah, you can keep on going, because you're right.
Thank you.
Everyone was really, really cooped up for months and being really cooperative,
Yeah.
not being able to travel, people coming home from all these other countries and making all these adjustments. And then, it was incredible to see the amount of these protests slash opportunities for people to use the protest as a shield to go and do terrible things.
It was a scapegoat, an excuse to get out of the house. I've heard that narrative, and I agree with a lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm happy that people are definitely raising awareness and everything like that. But the first thing that really struck me was like, well, if we're not allowed to go to sporting events, yet we can gather in these huge groups of people on the street, wouldn't this be spreading the virus even more?
There comes a point. Yeah. I think it comes a point, Natasha, there where people get to the point, well, they're killing us anyway. And maybe I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, but just bear with me for a second. They're killing us anyway. So what the heck is a corona going to do to me when I'm already going through it anyway economically? If I can't pay my bills and I'm not going to die anyway in my kitchen, what's the difference of dying in the street? At least they feel they have some type of a chance. Now, I'm not saying I condone all the theatrics and all
right there.
Black Lives Matters antics, because I don't. But I do see the premise of why people are out there in the first place, and that's what I champion. Not all the intersectionality people and all these other issues like we spoke of earlier, and it dilutes the premise and the goal. And people are originally disenfranchised. They're the ones usually on the outside looking in, while everyone else gets the benefits. And that creates xenophobia. That creates that tribe against tribe mentality. And I think if people knew about it and be able to communicate how they feel, maybe we could thwart a lot of these movements. I don't know. I want to think I can believe in people at the end of the day. Go ahead.
And you can't believe in people, but there is definitely, it seems like a psyops campaign that's working against a lot of us and grouping people the way that we saw them be grouped in the apartheid. Mm-hmm. Of this group of people with this language and this group of people with this color and so on and so forth. And it's going to be these different narratives that if you don't accept this narrative, you're going to get fired.
Well, it's just the hypocrisy of things like the Afrikaners and how they were facilitated to be in a certain land. I liken it just to Israel when one day there was no Israel, and one day there was, and then the Palestinians are looking around like, what the hell just happened? And now for the last how many years, they just want to know what the hell happened, but then they're labeled as bad people, where I think if we all got together and see what really happened, I think the bad person will really reveal themselves. And that's part of the problem. I call it plausible deniability. And when you have people in Israel hate Americans, people in America hate Israelis, maybe if they met each other, that's why I love things like music and art, because maybe that's the way we can bridge things together and then have that dialogue. Because everyone wants to be comfortable, right? But you can't be comfortable and defeat things like white supremacy and the oppression and police brutality. Someone's got to feel a little bit some type of way for us to fall. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Everyone is so hell-bent on feeling comfortable and not being offended or not being racist. I'll be called racist till the day I die, but I know I stand on truth. So anyone that knows me knows I'm not a racist. I'm not anti-white. I'm pro-truth. There's a big difference in that. But a lot of people, when you put out certain talking points, they want to pigeonhole you. Oh, I've been called a rioter. I've been called a protester. The one guy said, "Hey, Trek, get me a big screen TV when you go out looting tonight." I'm like, bro, I haven't even been to one protest. What are you talking about? So if you just act like you care about the protesters, if you act like you care about Black lives, you're being glommed into this terrorist Antifa dynamic, which I don't think is fair. I
It's
don't think
totally horseshit.
and I hate to like to quote your boy Trump. They're good people on both sides of that. You know what I'm saying? Literally.
Truth, you want to jump in on this?
Yeah, so I heard a little bit of that, and
Yes, sir.
it was funny. My phone actually overheated where I
Oh,
was, so that's why I had to jump.
You got that Hawaii phone.
Say again.
You got that Hawaii phone, whatever, with the 5G scandal.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
It's very sensitive.
Yes, sir.
And so basically, yeah, we touched a lot on a lot of those issues last time, and one of the things that I remember just being left with myself is everybody can figure out, everybody can see that they're getting screwed.
Yeah.
And there's this great meme, and it's like this guy, and it says like right-wing guy, and he's bitching. He's like, man, fucking jobs don't pay enough, not enough jobs. Medicare, healthcare costs so much money, blah, blah, blah. Bitching about everything that's just a product of the system. And then so the left-wing guy's like, yeah, man, doesn't capitalism suck? And he's like, no, dude, women and minorities suck.
That's
you know, it's just getting past the paradigm of we're being screwed by somebody who is coming here from Mexico with nothing, trying to screw us. No, you know, we're not getting screwed by the gays, by the women, by the transsexuals. We're not getting screwed. You know what I mean? And we have to take a look at who is doing some of the screwing, and people like Google and people like Facebook and people like the United States government, they want to get left out of the conversation because they did something right one time. You know, like you can't.
Wait, I want to back up
either the government, the cops, Facebook, or Google, or pick your leftist organization.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying about. That's what I'm saying about the apartheid and what happened in South Africa. Was that it was all these different marginalized groups, these different places where people would get their information, or they would read their information, and it was broken out into different types of languages. And we have to be really aware of what happened there, because it applies today because of how people are being polarized to go against one another, when that doesn't make any sense for anybody here. That's just ripping up the fabric of our society, and I'm seeing it with my own eyes. And I think that through art, as Trek had said, and music, that is the bridge. And if we learn from what had just happened in the last 6 months, and we apply it to the next 6 months, we can create an artistic renaissance. I mean, I think that we're about to embark on something like that. And I know both of you are heavily involved in the music scene, somewhat of the underground music scene. And I want to know your thoughts. I mean, don't you think that all these things that are happening right now is just like, it's just food for thought for music and what could be spoken about?
I mean, here's the thing. I'll let you go, because you're way more in the industry right now, Truth, than I am. But when I was recently in Jamaica, I was pretty much social distancing before it was even a thing, because that's just the way I am. I was in a remote island in Jamaica in a beautiful place, and I was supposed to do like maybe 2 music videos on my music, right? End up doing 10 songs, 10 different videos, right? And
nice.
Myself and different with a GoPro, just me being artistic, because my lyrics, I like to say something. I don't talk about all the booties and the shaking and all that crazy stuff that polarized hip hop to what it is now. I'm more of a Public Enemy guy. I'm more of an X-Clan guy. I'm more of an old Common guy, arguably, even a Reasonable Doubt, Jay-Z, if you want to go there. But so when I see all these guys now being artistic, it's like, all right, that's cool, but it seems like a monkey see, monkey do kind of thing. And I wish this creativity would have been there before I was walking around the island of Jamaica. I'm not saying I created this whole conscious stuff, but I'm just glad I was doing it before it became the thing to do. And ironically, right when I landed, the whole Corona thing was literally going on. So I was coming through international airports, and they're saying it arguably started in December, November. So I could have been exposed to this terrible thing, and people didn't say it. They willfully didn't let the world know what was going on, and that's what China has to hold. That's what a lot of these people,
Absolutely.
that's what WHO has to hold. When they willfully protected, they always want to protect the bad guy, but then get mad at the hood when he protects the bad guy. You know what I mean? So again, I'm gonna quote
like
Trump.
that.
Where do we draw the line? You know, I mean, you hate Trump or you love Trump, but he says a lot of things that is quotable. And you can scale it. You may not agree totally, but it has some iota of truth or some iota of something there, and that's what I respect about the man. I'm not saying I'm a Trumper. I'm not saying I'm gonna be Republican, whatever. But I see things for what it is, and sometimes you got to separate the badass from the infraction. So or you guys, well, I when I use it for black people, you guys separate the bootlick from the individual. So you got to separate Bill Cosby for what you think Bill Cosby is, and realize how he was actually railroaded by things like white supremacy and the way the courts railroaded that man, even though 50% of the allegations came back as BS. So you can't keep Bill Cosby in jail and then let Michael Avenatti, Michael Cohen, and probably Sandusky, but still out of jail, and then still have Cosby in jail. And they even let Tekashi 6ix9ine out of jail. So how do you explain that? So I thought COVID was supposed to affect the elderly people. Bill Cosby's 80 years old and he's blind. Shouldn't he be out of jail?
No, hell
hate
no.
him or love it. Just, that's what I talk about.
No.
Separating, go ahead.
One of the most dangerous men in the world, Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, if you look at it, bro, he was telling you to pull your pants up while he was raping white women. Bill Cosby was as bad of a hypocrite as anybody who's ever lived.
He's
right up there with these Epstein characters. Now, Epstein, of course, is worse because of the fact that it was a whole pyramid and it was a business, and he was in the he's in the blackmail industry as well as being
it's all scalable. I hear what you're saying. It's all scalable.
Yeah, it's all
right.
scalable.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
But this is actually going on right now in my community with Nako. Not that Nako is accused of giving anybody drugs and raping them when they're passed out, but he is being accused of some pretty serious things, including like sexual assault of minors. So it's like the R. Kelly hippie.
I was about to go to R. Kelly. Thank you for bringing him up. Yeah.
Yeah. And again,
you gotta separate.
Exactly. It's not fair that when exactly like you were saying, white people or people of lighter skin tones are committing these crimes, they're getting away with it. Like, look at Michael Jackson. He painted himself white and then got away with it. So
they said it was vitiligo. That said it was vitiligo. So I don't know. You gotta go.
Oh yeah. No, he had a disease as well, but he apparently pushed the disease forward to just use bleaching to balance it out. But again,
Michael never had a childhood. So here's the ironic thing about Mike. Mike never had a childhood. Mike was probably a victim of childhood rape his damn self, and nobody wants to talk to that. Everyone's more mad about. You know what I'm saying? So he never had a chance to be a kid. You know what I mean? So when I see him be accused of child rape, I was in LA when that happened. I was supposed to meet Michael Jackson. I was literally on the phone with I shared this story with Natasha. I haven't told this story much.
You're lucky you didn't meet him.
I was in LA, and I'm out there with Dr. Freeze, right? And I've been producing music, working at FedEx, having a part-time studio. So one day he sent a ticket for me to go to LA. So I'm chilling in LA one day, 548 Hill Street by La Cienega. I never forget it. So I'm chilling there in his condominium. He goes, "Hey man, I want you to talk to somebody." I'm like, I'm not thinking nothing of it, right? So I pick up the phone, right?
Do his voice.
This is Michael Jackson. This is Michael Jackson. I'm like, I said, Mike. I said, for real?
What?
So I talked to Michael Jackson for like 10 minutes. The only thing I remember Mike saying to me was, "Good music lasts forever." I'm just like, wow. So I was so green in the music industry. I'm calling home. I'm like, "Mom, we're rich." Just because I talked to Michael Jackson, I thought I was rich. I thought I would never have to work. How wrong was I? But it's not about me being rich. It's about me being able to talk to Mike when most people don't even have that opportunity. So it's kind of funny when you look at you a certain way and they want to judge you, figure you're nothing. Not talking to Michael Jackson makes me better than anybody, but it's about the journey. And that's why I started Red Bokeh, because it's about the journey and the people you meet. When we walked in the Elton John concert and then we're still followed around by the Gestapo, that's what I it's like, yeah. So you don't know what you yeah, it was a great time. So that's what I'm talking about, truth. So Michael Jackson, Elton John, all these people that Britney Spears, arguably, definitely Justin Timberlake, These people never had childhoods. They're a victim of literally what people like Macaulay Culkin, people like that crazy dude that used to run with Michael Jackson. What's his name? You know what I'm talking about.
Corey Feldman.
Corey Feldman.
Yeah, but check it.
How could I forget Corey
This is
Feldman?
you guys just gave me a really good idea because
Go ahead.
a lot of the focus.
Go ahead.
No, it's cool. A lot of the focus has been with systemic racism, which I felt like wasn't that big of an issue. I'm, clearly who I am, so I don't know. But could that have been a distraction of the systemic issue of pedophilia? Because as you said, did this happen to Michael Jackson?
I don't think it's a distraction. I think it's an underlying evil.
Because, I mean,
two issues.
Things have gone wrong, really bad with these children. I mean, it was just that I didn't even realize that Walmart had a post. It has a post of the post missing children, and I guess since 1996, since they started posting, they've recovered and found 14,000 missing children. And that's the thing with COVID-19 happening and us closing all these borders down. What tunnels were being used to funnel human trafficking, and is this something that is solving itself through this crisis? Is there another story going on underneath?
No, because there's so many children get kidnapped every day in America. If the borders could stop human trafficking, then they would have. Somebody would have been like, look, we can do something about this. But the thing is that you have trafficking across town, you have trafficking across states, you have trafficking across the country. I mean, there is a big enough demand inside any particular nation that children are going to get stolen. I mean, we know this. This is the
but this is the thing. Yeah, we know it.
Life.
But I mean, right now we're seeing a lot coming through from the whole Epstein thing, and they just detained his counterpart.
Finally, after a long time. And if you notice, people have been saying more and more that they knew. The culture of knowing. I can't remember who it was, if it was John McCain's daughter said something, but then you also had that video Out of the Shadows that talked about how it was getting covered up for a long time. And now finally, enough things happened. We started the last podcast talking about Netflix, the power of Netflix. Only well into, the establishment that this was nonsense and people continuing to fight against the Epstein estate did they finally get a rearrest based on the fact that his first plea deal was a joke and that it was political fixing at its absolute finest, and we saw a lot of this for a long time with a lot of different celebrities. They paid people to go away. You can still do that. You can still commit a terrible crime and legally get a do not discuss order on a case all signed, and it becomes the law that you buried this thing and that it's not to be talked about for certain people to get paid what they're going to get paid. So don't think that COVID is like the QAnon solving human trafficking. It is the worst kind of not that, and a lot of other bad things. If we see a slight downturn in human trafficking, maybe it was because for 3 months nobody let anybody out of their house at all to get kidnapped.
Okay, I want to switch the topic real quick because I just saw that Kanye West is creating his platform.
Kanye West is running for fucking president. Let's talk about it.
And that is awesome. I'm so stoked because I started to see his evolution and what he's been promoting, and I think it's really beautiful and he's insightful.
Yeah.
So I don't know who. It seems like you're more okay. So I'm gonna put it on you.
Oh, Trek. What do you think?
I mean, I respect Kanye because what he came from, and I know his story, and I have a lot of reverence for the man. I really do. And I've seen what he's been through, and I see him literally melt down. I remember right before he met with Trump the first time in the Oval Office, and he was pretty much spaced the hell out. Hell, people thought he was a clone. That's how spaced out the guy was. I don't know what type of drugs they had the guy on, but I can just imagine. And I've seen people like his wife be more vocal and actually get more results than him at times. So I'm glad he's finally coming into his own. And I don't know about the whole. I'm glad he's a pastor now, I guess, and I'm glad these other people like Justin Bieber have been following suit. And I'm one for being one with the Lord, but it seems a little bit glorified, or it seems a little bit politicized, if you will. So I don't know how to take people like Kanye too seriously. I know he has a great mind. I know he has a great heart, but is he being used as a spoiler voice to hurt Biden? Is that what it is? Because who's really going to vote for Kanye West?
Yeah, I absolutely know. I mean, without a doubt, he's definitely pulling votes away.
Yeah, so it's like, is it another symbolic victory wall or something else he can put on something to brag about in one of his songs? Yeah, I ran for president.
Right.
If there's a Bible, I would be in it. Is this one of these moments again?
Yeah.
So I mean, this is the same Kanye West that said George Bush don't care about black people. So it's like,
right.
when I was in Jamaica, like, what the hell is Kanye doing? I love Kanye West. And I'm like, damn, what the hell is this guy doing? Is this guy trying to, I mean, I even kind of half rocked on him with the Taylor Swift thing because I know how the music industry is. Hell, I know how the local music awards in Allentown are. So I could imagine what the Grammys are like. So for him to get up there in that soapbox and do the things he's done, it takes a lot of courage. Just like it took a lot of courage what Colin did. So I wish the guy luck. I honestly think he should have ran for something like governor or representative.
Right.
Him trying to go president, it seemed a little bit too much. Too early, because he's already a
Way
name, he's
too
already
early.
a brand. If he'd have ran for something
like
a little
that.
bit more reasonable,
right,
I
like
probably could have had a more
ridiculous
serious
thing to do.
conversation about it. But president,
Right.
who's next? Dr. Dre? Who's gonna bring my?
I would much prefer Dre. Hell yeah, Dre.
I do too.
I trust Dre.
Well, you get my point. You know what I'm
about.
Yeah, I was just trying to make a
so
point.
let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So you mentioned a lot of stuff. One thing I want to bring up is that I was just in Jamaica for 3 months of lockdown. So it's so crazy
nice,
that we
man.
both just spent so much time in Jamaica.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
God bless. So,
Yes, sir.
so Kanye, so Trump is diving in the polls, and then all of a sudden, a Kanye backed by Elon Musk.
Right.
is
Oh, I didn't know
running
that.
for
See, I didn't know that. Go ahead.
So it's interesting. It is very interesting because this is not something that Elon Musk has decided to be below him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he's really sort of taking his quasi woke politics and it's all mixing together, right? Like this is what I bring up about when Kanye started to do the more Christian Trump thing, which was Kanye is just getting turned. He's getting turned, but it was also, again, not the worst way that people could get turned.
Yeah,
when you go QAnon, it's not, I mean, as bad as that is, it's not as bad necessarily as thinking CNN always tells the truth. New York Times always tells the truth. There's no conversation that we need to have about the past and what's been going on,
right.
And the Illuminati and 9/11. And that's why I understand what people are doing with Q, especially with Hollywood, vaccines, the Bill Gates agenda, the eugenics agenda. All of that stuff is real. And that's why I consider QAnon especially dangerous, because it gets people back on board for, hey, 4 more years of Trump, we're making
but
America
back on board
great again. Hold on one second. That is a serious pitfall in my mind and a psychological operation based on the fact that the pedo, DNC, Hillary Clinton stuff is real, but so is the fact that the Bushes and the Cheneys just murdered like hundreds of thousands or millions of people. And we need to talk about both issues and realize that Joe Biden, as bad as it is that he fondles children, killing 2 million people is worse. And they're both terrible. But we need to have that national conversation. And the right is not willing to sacrifice the reality that they live in, that the military is not a good thing. We need a strong military that we don't just encourage to go kill whoever all the time based on nothing and based on stuff we did to ourselves. So that's the part that I see people getting lost in, is like the left was right. We have to stop the Iraq war. And now the right is right about the fact that we have to stop human trafficking. But you don't get to just play the good guy the whole time. The left doesn't get to, and the right doesn't get to, because they both have their very serious sins. And Trump ran on some of the sins of the Republican Party, but has not necessarily made it better at all in certain places. So, what's going on here? I think we need to get all the troops out of Afghanistan, all the troops out of Iraq, all the troops out of fucking
I don't agree with you at
Africa.
all whatsoever.
But that's fine. You don't have to agree with that. But what you do need to acknowledge is that we are creating animosity and terrorism and enemies by blowing up children and weddings and giving people targets for IEDs so that our soldiers come back with PTSD and fucking flip out, and then overthrow the government with a right-wing militia. I mean, don't get me wrong, our veterans are the people that know how to do war, and that's an important thing. But fighting wars of oil and Israeli protection and conquest are reprehensible, and there's fucking millions of people around the world who just know that that's a fact. And it's not
so
right.
back up a little bit.
It's not right.
Let's pan out a little bit, because we kind of went.
Why should the soldiers stay where they are, according to, because you disagree? Why should they stay there?
We are not just military for us here in the United States. We also provide and outsource military services for other countries to keep them safe. And we have radical individuals that they want submission to their God and their ways of life, and they want full control. And that's these are people that stone women, and they disregard life. Like, it's a terrible. And how are we doing reality.
Anything about it?
We're doing a lot. There's a lot, very strategic. And you're right. When it went from the Bush years into then the Obama years and the droning, and then now where we have more of a nationalistic stance, where we want to be more self-sufficient. Pulling out of NAFTA and pulling out of the WHO, there are two signals that we want to be more self-reliant on our own stock, if you will, our own stuff that we have in this country. We have been giving away a lot of our resources, and we've been depleting them over the last several years because of this idea of like a one world government that wants to microchip everybody and track all their movements. So we're dealing with a couple different
invade
agendas.
Invade 6 sovereign nations. Like, they're not different. You just said the one world government. The one world government was from the Bushes. Bush said it multiple times. Then they pulled off 9/11, and then they started all these wars. So if you want to talk one,
I think it was actually started back with JFK. That was when this agenda seemed to have started.
And in 1913, when they privatized the Federal Reserve. I mean, you can go all the way back with a Masonic one world order agenda. But that's what I'm saying. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that there's a fantastic fascist nationalist movement in this country when it's very much related.
No, I don't agree.
To policing the world.
Well, no, that's
the
thing.
World, the one world government.
No, that's not what we're policing as if it's our agenda. It's as if they're asking for us to be able to provide those services.
Who?
And all these other countries. Israel, for instance, is the only democratic country in the Middle East. So that's why it's like, that's why.
Is it democratic? How democratic is Israel?
Yes, it's as democratic as we are.
No, Palestinians vote. Palestinians get to vote for the president.
Well, that's what they finally settled that. That was another reason that I think that there was a lot of stuff against Trump, because of this sort of agenda with the old Islamic.
Israel's not a free country.
There's an old Islamic.
It's not a free country.
Israel is free.
No, it's not. Not if you're Palestinian. You have to stay in a concentration camp. It's the apartheid you were just talking about. Israel is the example of apartheid, not America.
This is the argument.
A shit ton better than the religious theocracy
Yeah.
of Israel
Well,
that
this
got
is the
started
argument
only
that's been
70 years ago.
Yeah. So this is the argument. This is the argument that's been going on for thousands of years. Over there.
Okay, what
Okay,
argument is that?
Palestine, Israel. That's why when Trump put our embassy in Israel, Jerusalem. That's why it was such a big deal. It was a shock throughout the entire world. And I actually think that this is somewhat of a result of COVID-19.
Do you know why it was
locking everyone down in this
deal?
fascist sort of whatever militarized situation that we found ourselves in, because it was a really, really big move. And the reaction and the response is biblical. In my opinion.
It may and well indeed be biblical, and the reason for that is because religious fundamentalists are getting their way, and you confuse Jesus Christ for the same people that are part of satanic lodges. Trump is not a Christian. He's never been a Christian his whole life. Bush was not a real Christian. Clinton and Obama were not real Christians. They're part of a satanic cult.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that with our current administration at all. I think that there was actually
Trump might be not in the exact same satanic cult, but when they tore down Albert Pike, who was the highest level founder of the Scottish Rite, he said that's the statue that needs to go back up. He was not willing to budge on Albert Pike, the Freemason fucking KKK Grand Dragon. So if we're going to talk magic, just remember that I know a lot about it. And Trump is not toppling satanic statues. He's insisting they go back up.
Okay, I have to look at that. But what I think is really important.
When I saw the Pike statue go down, I'm watching the news. I'm like, wow, these people from BLM and Antifa, they really picked a fight. I don't know if they want to pick that fight. So Albert Pike is like the godfather of masonry.
That's exactly the fight they want to pick.
That's exactly. Well, they picked it because that's like the godfather of masonry. I'm not a mason. I'll never try to join that, but I know that he's like he's like a Crowley. You know what I mean? And when I saw that statue go down with impunity like that, I was like, whoa, these guys know who they're trying to pick a fight with. Because that's the statue to go after. And that's the one that made Trump get proactive.
Exactly.
So I agree with that.
Exactly. And that's the difference. But that's the difference between Trump and a real historian.
Yeah.
And the difference between the current administration and the talking heads on the media between, again, reality. Because the media is not willing to talk secret societies. And so when you're willing to talk secret societies, as some of the Q people are, which is why I was giving credit to that movement, is that you start to understand that this is a lot bigger than what gets allowed to be said on CNN and Fox, and they are the exact talking piece media mirrors to reflect back what the party is willing to talk about. So that's where you have your AOCs and your Bernie Sanders towing the party media establishment line. Occasionally they break from it a tiny bit to talk about something else. But on the other side, Trump is where you will not have a true right-wing Christian coup revolution that actually starts protecting Christian lives, Muslim lives, Jewish lives, real work, real deep spiritual work. Right. The illusion is that spiritual work is happening. The lie is that we are going to save the children. No.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think that by these things happening and what has happened in the last 6 months, I think things are ripe, depending upon where the conversation will be steered. Even if we're putting this show out there in the underground, my hope is that you're creating some great points, about these different questions that really need to be asked, not footing around the actual real issues that are
that's what the media gets paid
creating
to do.
creating this incredible problem.
That's where the money is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, let's get to the real stuff already. And one of the things I actually went to school for many years ago at Penn State is I studied telecommunications, and one of the things that I really kind of honed in on was the Telecommunications Act of 1996, where it created these media conglomerates. And I think that a real good argument that we could have, which is why music has kind of gotten so icky over the past couple of decades, is that act went into play, and then that means all the major radio stations are all playing the same thing.
Shit.
And so I think that what we need to do is break that monopoly up. And that's something that that's within our lifetimes, within the next 10 years, is something that, we could really spearhead because of these different movements and from the things that we've seen, so that we get real conversations to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think the whole music industry's changed because of the internet. So who listens to the radio anyway? I mean, who watches the news arguably anymore? So it's like, even
A
things
lot
like
of
the
people,
Breakfast
and
Club.
I listen to the radio.
A lot of people, but a lot of
For
people
sure.
don't. Where the fact where you could like literally promote your music on the internet. I know a lot of people still watch TV. I'm just saying a lot of people don't. You know what I mean?
Yes.
A lot of people have divorced themselves literally from. I don't even watch TV anymore. All I watch is news channels. But because I watch Fox, I watch OWN, I watch all points of the lie because I want to see and make my own assumption of what's really going on.
Okay, but if you're watching
I mean?
Fox and OWN, what else are you watching to balance
MSNBC.
out?
I'm sorry, MSNBC. I listen to CNN.
Okay.
I listen to like everything. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
As much? Do you listen to as much MSNBC?
I actually listen to Liz Wheeler every night, and I may disagree with a lot of things she says.
I'm out of it.
Real on a lot of issues. You know what I mean? And I can understand.
I'm out of it.
Huh?
I'm so out of it where earlier today.
I respect that. Yeah, but
earlier today,
go ahead,
here's what I end up seeing. I'll tell you what I end up seeing. But I appreciate what you're saying, that you watch a different stream of things.
Yeah.
What I also recommend is turning it all off. And what I do, of course, is get shown what I get shown by the mirror. So what the Facebook mirror is sending me everything from exactly what you're saying, like OANN, because of her response video and whatever stuff they associate me with caring about from her. And another example would be like Mike or these Vox videos where you just get recommended you get recommended them, and it really is like an interesting example of just on one side, in my opinion, Vox doing really good journalism inside what's allowed, and OAN doing like shitty journalism maybe just outside what's allowed. So you have this interesting balance where nobody except a couple people that I'm going to tell you right now that I think you should watch are doing really good journalism outside what's allowed. We're starting
True journalism's been co-opted. We both know that. So I watched the curtailed version of it that we're given. But you're right. Maybe we should just turn off the tube. But how do we get information? You have to hear the lie first of all to debunk the lie. So if I'm listening, you know what I'm saying?
So let me give those shout outs that I want to give.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, bro.
Really dope. So you have a very sort of right-wing and minarchist and anarchist perspective coming from Jeff Berwick. I don't like Jeff Berwick, but what he's putting out tends to be really real. His spin on it isn't my favorite. Then you've got Derek Bros and Ben Swan. Again, minarchist, anarchist, conservative and liberal in the sense, because you could be conservative and be a liberal if you were going to use the actual definitions of those words. You could be, into Enlightenment thought and be a conservative liberal. But that's a real thing, not the conversation that we have anymore. At this point, we just have and again, I know Natasha doesn't necessarily agree, but we have the two fascist parties, the social fascists in the left, and the conservative, or what I would call more theocratic fascists on the right, which is where you get your Christian money going into that party. A lot of people who mean well, things like that. The other side of it is, so Ben Swan and Derek Bros Ben Swan seems to do a conservative or social liberal kind of brass tacks news reporting, and covers the New World Order very well and with a lot of integrity and sources. And then you have Derek, who's not putting out as many videos, but he does put out videos about his writing, especially. So
Okay.
that's his specialty. He does a lot of, articles about what's going on with the New World Order, about what's going on with the technocratic state, about really, he doesn't cover the good guys as much, but he is a good guy, and he gives books for that. And then he covers the sort of negative shadow agenda in his writing. Go ahead, Natasha. I just wanted to shout them out because it's great media. It's fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
Ben Swan's show is called Truth in Media. Go ahead.
Thank you.
All right. So I haven't been watching all of those, but a couple names I want to point out is, I do go right to the State Department from Secretary Pompeo when I want to get certain types of information. I really do enjoy hearing from Candace Owens. I think she's really passionate and educated, and I think that she makes a great presentation and provides a fantastic argument. I also go to Judicial Watch, to get a lot of information. They're also the people that are really putting a lot of groups in check.
It's activist lawsuits.
They're doing work. And when when I really kind of want to go and see what's going on in the underbelly, I'll just kind of poke around Unicorn Riot. I don't know why no one mentioned Unicorn Riot.
Is cool. I don't know that much about their politics yet, but I know that what they're doing a lot of is groundwork and dangerous footwork. So shout out to them.
Yeah, totally shout. And I think that we need more of that. It's one of the things about, the internet and what we have access to be able to reach one another. And that's what we're doing right now. So to close out this conversation, I think that was a really good conversation. I think last week was a little...
What are we closing for? You got to go somewhere where I'm only on 40 minutes on this call before I got kicked off.
Okay. Well, do you guys want to continue on?
I feel like there's so much more to say without
cut it up, fill it in, whatever.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. 20 minutes.
Okay. Let me see here. I was writing down some of the things that you were talking about.
We didn't even touch cancel culture yet.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. I have to stay on task here. Well, one of the things that I also, you had mentioned that Trump's really down in the polls. This is the same problem that happened last year, where people thought that he was down in the polls, and he obviously won the presidency.
Last election,
I don't think they're predicting him to win at a landslide. So maybe it's wrong again. Maybe it's flipped.
We're going to have a very interesting conversation after the election, because I agree
we are.
that I think Trump is going to win, but I don't necessarily think it's by a landslide, and I don't necessarily think that he will for sure win. I do think he's going to pull it out, but again, you have Kanye going on, you have all these different things. So why don't we send it to Trek on the topic of what do you think about Candace Owens? Because I'm with Chappelle. Candace Owens is a fucking disease. What do you think about her?
Candace Owens. Here's the thing about Candace Owens. The most hypocritical thing about Candace Owens is that her claim to fame was suing a college for discrimination, and she used things like the NAACP to get this money.
There you go.
So then she turns around,
shaka-laka-laka.
And now she's the mouthpiece for the Republican Party. But it's like, wait a minute, Candace, you can't say racism doesn't exist, but then your claim to fame is suing for racism.
You sued for racism, it's real.
This seems really hypocritical. The same people that are mad at Trump for saying Pocahontas are the same people that give people like Candace Owens a pass for. Black people are only people in the world, I think, that are paid and facilitated to down talk their own people. I can imagine someone from Anai Brith going up and talking about bad mouthing Jewish people. I could imagine someone that's Mexican going up and bad mouthing
we know where it is.
La Raza. I couldn't imagine that. But you'll always see, I'm not saying she does it on purpose, because she's very well spoken. She makes very great points. I've seen her at a ghetto, a ghetto school in the middle of the inner city, and she was making sense to people who really polarized against her. So I know she has a way with words.
Mm-hmm.
If you're undermining the very premise of what you are, but certain things you say and do, that's what I have a problem with. And when she was checked by T.I. at the Revolt Summit, and he asked her, "You're coming with BS." T.I. was the only one I think that
really checked her. What did Killer Mike say?
Because
that's a great conversation. I love that you're referencing that conversation. People should watch that.
You got to remember that Candace Owens claimed to fame. Last thing I'll say, true. Candace Owens claimed to fame, and she'll admit it herself. I used to work for a major rapper. You would know his name if I said it. Okay, why aren't you saying it? So he's cognizant of the culture. she's cognizant of the pain, but I think she's almost like a diamond in silk revisited, if you will. So it's hard to take her seriously, as smart as she is, and whatever. That's my opinion on Candace Owens.
Good.
I'm
That's
still
very
watching,
honest.
but I'm not totally convinced. I mean, I don't know. We just have. I mean, I have way more respect for Ben Carson, and that's even waning at points. But so I just leave it there, you know. So.
Yeah. I think there's a potential for a really great Black Republican, and I don't think we have one right now.
They just get too
Depending on how
bro.
depending on Kanye's next moves, I think you have like maybe the first great Black Republican in a long time.
I mean, there are a lot of great Republicans, man, but they're just not going to get the shine they deserve. I mean, I hear what you're saying on the main.
Well, again,
you're right. You're right.
It becomes a racism issue when it's so easy to see that the Black vote is not behind the Republican assault on Black lives. And it's not exclusively a Republican assault. It was a bipartisan assault on
I mean,
Black
that's
lives.
the argument that,
Good
you know,
point.
Trek and I had talked about much earlier in the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, it's
And
like,
last
you know,
week we addressed that.
We're the
Let's
same
go to cancel
groups.
culture.
Okay.
Let's go to cancel culture. Or what's your next thought? Because I still want to say that Candace Owens, even though you've heard me summarize what I think Trek just said really well, and that there is a lot to look at in terms of the way that there is not going to be reparations and things that Black people need, better schools, coming out of the Republican Party. So what is Candace Owens doing?
Well, what she's doing is she's getting. Go on, Trek.
Go ahead. No.
I just think that she's, you know, if she's going to be shut out of the conversation and just canceled or just, you know, dismissed because there's been if she says something, her opinion, you know, oh, we can't invite you on the show because this is going to offend this group of people, therefore you can't speak.
Right.
That's what really offends me is like, okay,
right.
why are we being told to shut up? And that was another thing that kept on happening to me online. I was like, wait a second, I'm on my page. I'm expressing my thoughts, my opinion.
Yeah, sure, me too.
I'm allowed to have them, and I'm welcoming your argument. I'm welcoming a conversation. Come over, let's have some wine and cheese together. You know, let's get sauced and really get into like the blur. Blur part, you know what I mean? Let's get into the blur.
Unblurred a little bit. To hear Candace Owens like get up there and say the things she says about the Black community, just like Bill Cosby came under fire for doing the same thing. It's like,
pull your pants up, exactly.
I mean, again, how are you gonna pull up your bootstraps and with the straps when you have no boots and you have no strings? But then you have someone. Imagine like a woman being up there being like, I can't believe the state of women. How hell they want reproductive rights? They better, you know what I mean? Imagine a woman doing that. And going totally against the whole abortion narrative. Totally against the women's rights narrative. Like women needed to shut up and do what the man says and be real old. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but imagine a woman doing that. And then imagine her being well received and then people being like, well, you got to listen to this lady because she says a lot of good things. And you're being a woman. Well, she says a lot of bad things about women. So how am I supposed to celebrate that?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. That's the argument that I think some of the right.
That's the problem with Candace Owens. Yeah. I mean, she didn't get canceled, Natasha. She kind of canceled herself, just like Bill Cosby kind of canceled himself, arguably.
Okay.
Because him going against the Black community and saying the things he said, I know what Truth is talking about, but I still had to separate him saying that, him doing that, from the judicial system doing what they did to attack generational, especially in the Black community. So I see people like Michael Jordan being attacked, Chris Brown, all these reputable Black, even Red Fox, arguably from the Sanford and Son show. He was destroyed with the IRS. So it seems like certain people can hand down generational wealth. I talked about the guy who had 500 acres of land. I want to see one person with 500 acres of land that he could literally say he handed down from slavery times. Did it happen? Yeah, but what are the numbers? That's my problem. That fluctuation in numbers and the so-called wealth gap. I mean, Ray Charles can see there's a wealth gap. You know, so why do we paying people like Lehigh and literally have $22,000 to pay for a report that they did like maybe 5 years ago? I remember reading the Morning Call. $22,000 they paid to say Black people had less money than white people and certain Spanish people. I said Ray Charles could have told you that. I remember calling the Morning Call on that. I said you could have gave me $5,000 to tell you that.
Right.
So it's like if we're gonna put the money in the right places, make it go to the right people, not to the facilitated buffer people. You know what I mean? And that transcends race. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. Too many people.
Okay, here's a point. And
Go ahead,
I
bro.
think this speaks to I think this speaks exactly to what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I want to get into cancel culture a little bit, but first of all, if we're going to talk about whether or not to cancel Candace Owens, my thought is that I'm opposed to censorship.
Yeah.
I'm very opposed to censorship. So the thing that I would grant Candace Owens is her fucking Facebook, her Twitter. These are things that should not be taken away from people. They're things that need to be protected at this point.
Yeah, I don't like. I'm still mad about Alex Jones being cut like he did.
That's what I'm saying.
Cool.
So Alex Jones and David Icke, people getting deplatformed when they haven't said that you should go, kill somebody or something. I mean, don't get me wrong. There is the issue and the potential to have something that Alex Jones said be pulled, and you say you can't put up that video. That's one thing. But then deplatforming him forever is a different thing.
I agree.
So these are important issues.
I know where that.
Let me finish. I don't want to see Candace Owens be thrown in a silencing pit where she's off Facebook. I don't think that's right. But I do think, Natasha, you should figure out and you should listen to us about what she is actually doing. There is validity way outside Candace Owens, where she's not required to be someone you mention in your top 3 of people you're listening to. Like, there is, like, exactly what he was saying. There's evidence to get past the lies that she's putting out. Not that she's always lying, but that she should not be considered as the black female voice if we're going to silence all the black female voices that don't agree with Candace Owens and not put them on TV, not put them on fucking Fox News. If she gets to speak for her gender and race, it is fraud. Not that she gets to be silenced forever. That's not what I'm saying.
I think that, well, she's not, I don't think that she has herself positioned as a journalist. She's more of an activist. And, I have a lot of respect for a woman like Majora Carter. So many years ago, I was able to interview her and film her. And has this, stance of grow where you're planted. She's from, I think it's Harlem, and making the environment, doing a lot of the urban work to make the urban environments better, and where a lot of this money that's being generated from the BLM movement, making sure that it's going into these communities, and like we all collectively have a responsibility, to see something come out of this, and not just take down statues. I can't believe that people are wasting their money and time on ripping apart statues when we need to be putting kids back in school and making it safe, making safe environments for them. That's what I think we really need to be focused on. Not just canceling
and that's a great
things
question.
and canceling things we don't agree or that some people don't agree with.
We don't know if school's safe right now. Maybe school's never been safe. We could do a whole show about schools, because I think we are closing up in the next little bit. So you just expressed a very popular opinion among a lot of people about getting schools back open. What else? As we go into this election, what else do you honestly think the government or America could accomplish and will actually accomplish? Or are we just at a standstill?
No, we really do. We really need, at a local level, need to be involved in our communities and be involved in our own local election process. And if you are not working right now, you could be working at the polls come November. It's an opportunity to learn something new and how that whole system works. Work at the polls. Join
very
a campaign.
Democratic of you. Sure.
Be involved, because that's what democracy thrives on, is our own citizen involvement. You can't sit here and just complain about the system being broken if you're not participating. That's why and also really honing in and focusing on maybe shortening some of these terms that people are in office for. They get in there, their college is free, their healthcare is free, they get all these different benefits, and then they're in there until they're in their 80s and going into the 90s. I don't even understand why or what motivates someone to sit in those seats for so long. And but then look what happens.
Paid.
But look what happened
Why
to
aren't we
him.
why aren't we getting paid, for
Right.
those things, to give us a chance? I mean, that's one of the things Kanye, if people see that Kanye is running for office, maybe that'll inspire other youth to put their to find the courage to put themselves forward, because he does
Right.
provide a lot of clarity. He's amazing with words, and he is highlighting some platform things that I think would really help somebody younger or somebody aspiring to put them to find the courage and the bravery to put themselves forward and not be canceled. You
Not
can't
be
cancel.
fucking
You can't cancel
canceled.
Kanye. No one's canceling Kanye West.
He will not allow it. He will not allow it. He's Kanye West. I mean, he might get canceled if serious laws are discussed as being broken. But look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump isn't canceled. He's the president. So when he proves your point. When you get involved, you prevent yourself from really being canceled. I think even to some extent, Alex Jones and David Icke, their access is very, very, very limited by not being on the main, what I call the big
on the main
three,
line,
which is Twitter's still just a thing called Twitter. Google's a thing called YouTube and everything else. And Facebook's called Facebook, and Instagram. So you've got Jones off of like 5 programs across 3 major companies. I'm sure it's way more. I know he's not on Apple Podcast anymore, these kinds of things. So cancellation is a serious issue. It's a very serious issue to conservatives. And I think what people forget and that the people need to remember is that free speech, the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, America had the best rules ever written. Some different rules that are good too are written other places for certain things. But America at the time, and especially after,
I know you want to say now, especially now, like we do have these things, but we have to be.
What people were able to do and change things, we need to be able to do. And we need to say to ourselves, hey, not only do we need to take a serious look at who was fighting for those rights in the 70s and 80s and 90s, because that does have value. And that is a good conversation to get into, because it's very similar and opposite of exactly like we were talking about what party was doing it in the 1860s. But we need to also talk about that if we can't figure this stuff out, it is absolutely killing us. And so the same thing that's going on with COVID and masks and to touch back on Kanye and vaccines and potentially why Elon Musk is backing him is Kanye is taking a very, very religious and strict and I believe beneficial stance on vaccines and on COVID vaccines especially. So his definitive statements about the mark of the beast and what he knows and what he's really putting his life on the line for is amazing. And I didn't know that until yesterday. I knew Kanye West was going to say a bunch of shit. I knew it was going to be Christian. I knew it was going to be, like quasi canceled in the African community and in the African American community, but also valued in certain,
certain circles,
circles and diplomatic institutions that know what he's talking about because he's not an idiot.
No, he's not. Far from that.
Yeah, those are very, very, very important conversations that the conservatives, the blacks, and people who are against having their body invaded. You could look at it as like you could be a sovereign leftist. I'm kind of a sovereign leftist of sorts in terms of what I believe in as far as if we're going to have a mind control system, it should at least make healthcare free. It should at least make food free if you're dying of starvation.
Yeah, but that's, I mean,
that's
make
also a trailer free if you're homeless, these kinds of things, because we're going to have it. I mean, I'm not someone that's saying, oh, we should just hand China the world. That's not what I'm talking about.
Well, that's what they're hoping. They're hoping to put everybody against one another so they can come and take all of our resources.
They're funding it. They're part of funding.
They are. They're major problems. So, Trek, can you close it out for us?
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in again. We had a great discussion. It's always too short. We're gonna have some more discussed next week. We didn't get to talk about the bones that ended up at Epstein's Island. Natasha.
Yeah, let's do 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes.
Okay, you want to do 5 more minutes?
We're gonna kick it off next time.
Wait, because we all read that article. It's actually one article that we all read.
But I checked the source. I wasn't sure about the source, Nat, so I don't know. It looked like one of those crazy sources. So.
I know. It's one of the issues that we have.
Yeah, but what did they find? We don't know. They might have found bones.
After our conversation, I was wondering, I'm like, there has to be evidence somewhere. They had to have found
right.
And
fires.
Yeah, and I was like, are they putting it? I'm like, are they putting
ovens
it?
can
are they
burn
grinding
bones.
it? Is there a heat element to it to just destroy it?
Right.
Now they're diving and they're finding these bones.
Maybe. Right? We don't know. Have you seen the bone? I haven't seen the bone.
I mean,
yet.
hey, maybe by next week,
it could be
something turn up.
I hope
maybe that's what we could do between shows. We can look for some really
some
crazy
bones.
Headlines that we can talk about.
Yeah, well, crazy headlines. Well, my new friend that I'm going to have dinner with now is a diver. Goes in 150 feet, like one of those like special divers.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna look on the satellite. I'm gonna see where this island is and check out the terrain and see where they're going in and maybe make some phone calls because
make some phone calls. We know you're plugged in, Natasha. We know
you better buy him a GoPro. Get him a Pro or whatever. Get him
a little light. Get a little light there.
This is very, very important information. We should be able right now. I think we should all be able to agree that with some amount of security and FBI screening, you should be able to at least support the investigation.
I'll let my friends know at the FBI.
There should not be a wall of secrecy
you hear that, guys?
right now around this investigation because we've got. Let's do something else really quick. Okay. Really, like 20 seconds. Do you think she's going to survive to name names? Maxwell, is she going to make it? Who's she going to say go?
No, she's not. I don't think she's going to probably end up conveniently off somewhere or conveniently sick. I just think that when you get in these certain circles, man,
Corona,
people's livelihoods are at stake. People just start disappearing, and it's like we're coming to the time and age. We're literally in the Trump era, and anything's possible. And he's saying crazy stuff. Crazy things are being done, and people are warning from the world court. And this whatever's going to go down with these whatever litigation with the Hillarys or whatever. And that's people are running for cover. So I think whoever's going to get in the way, whether it be Weiner with his laptop, whether it be Hillary trying to run for president, it's just going to be eliminated. So I don't think she's going to make it. Not to be, negative.
Interesting. So you think she's dead and not talking soon?
I think she's a dead woman walking. I mean, maybe me a little.
There's reason to believe that. There's absolutely reason to believe that. Go ahead, Natasha.
Oh, absolutely. She's gonna be alive and well, and she's gonna
alive and well.
All right, let's hope. Okay, all right.
Alive and well. She's too much. I think that maybe she is willing to clear her conscience, and I believe that.
They're saying she's talking. They are saying
she is.
that.
They've been watching.
Yeah, she wants to name names.
They've been watching her for a long time, and
every second she doesn't say the names, she's so stupid.
She's already been saying. I'm sure she's already been.
She needs to start screaming names and calling the fucking media right now, using her phone call.
Now check it.
To fucking name names. That's the only thing that can protect her.
That's why I think they're using this COVID-19 thing and they're stretching it out because people have to be home.
Exactly.
And they're going to be given the option of.
But nobody's staying home. I could go wherever I want.
You could die from COVID-19 and no questions are asked. You could save your family's legacy.
I mean, the courts aren't fully open yet. If you call your courthouse now, you're going to get one person. Michelle, if you call the morning call, there's going to be one person in the morning call talking about, I can't get any editors. There ain't any reporters. So they're wasting all that electricity for two people. My homegirls, Deb and Sue, they always answer the phones at morning call. Shout out to them. I mean, they get it. It's a shame. If they would print 90% of the stories they ignored from me, they'd probably be a Pulitzer-winning paper. But that's what
we're going to build up this platform, guys. Let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah,
it's our turn to do that. Yeah, we got to tell.
We all get a voice. We all get a voice.
Yeah.
And the more we lean into believing that each other have value in what we're saying, the bigger this will become, and more people will be willing to participate here. Both Q people, conservatives, liberals, people like
Hey, Pappy.
me who I don't know where I fit in. I'm like a fucking extremist, centrist,
Right.
constitutionalist, you know.
I want you guys to say hello to my grandfather before.
Oh, great.
Yes,
Yeah,
where
cool.
has he
Yes,
been
appears.
my whole life?
Okay, so I'm gonna take myself off of turn Bluetooth off. Hey, can you hear us?
How you doing? Yes, yes.
Hey, look at my Pappy.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Pappy.
How you
Nice to meet
doing?
you, man.
So here, I'll show you this. So this is Truth here,
How you doing?
and this is Trek.
Good. Nice to
He's
meet
in,
you.
doing,
he's
sir?
in New York.
All right.
Want to ask him any questions quick?
No, sir.
Yes.
What?
What's the
How are you feeling? And are you hopeful for Natasha's America that she's gonna live in for the rest of her life?
Well, I wish her luck, and she's very sharp, and
Yeah.
she gets around, and she's a very sociable person and beautiful, so she's gonna do well. I'm doing fine. I feel good. I'm only 84. Sometimes I feel
Only
I'm
nice.
You look great, man. You look great.
I'm 84.
Yeah, you look 71, bro.
Yeah.
He still has his
turn,
hair
turn his
too.
hat to the back. Turn his hat to the back.
Oh, now he looks 68.
He said you look 68.
Yeah, 68 now. Yeah.
Good job. Have a good day, fellas.
Okay, nice meeting you,
You
sir.
too.
God bless, man.
God bless.
Well, I guess you got to be sharp to survive.
I wanted
See,
to. I
think
wanted.
about-
I wanted to ask him a quick question. Something we
Oh,
didn't
wait.
talk about.
Hey, they want to ask you a question.
Yeah, one more from Trek, please.
Thanks.
Okay. hold
Even
on.
one from you, Natasha. I want to hear you ask him a question.
You want to ask questions? This is where we are here. It's my grandmother.
Oh, nice picture.
Pappy, they have a question for you. Come here.
Oh, and I
really
got one more
important.
too. Trek, you go ahead.
Okay, man.
Sit down here.
I got one more.
Yeah, because right now we don't need to sit down here. What's the question?
How you doing, sir? I saw you had a Air Force hat on, so you're a
Yeah,
veteran.
Right.
Okay. There's recently been stories that came out. We didn't get to talk about this today, but have you
right.
UFOs or any type of aliens from any experiences where your
We
people?
want to know about UFOs, Pat.
No, I don't know. They're probably somewhere, but you hear about it.
Okay, you did, but you don't ever heard. Okay.
No, never heard of them.
I was okay. Cool. I was going to ask somebody.
They didn't tell Pappy? Damn it.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you.
They call them Hollywood.
I had a
Jews.
similar question. Natasha, you can answer this question because we can let Pappy rest. But
Yeah, let him rest.
what war did he fight in? Korea?
Well, he actually his brothers, my great uncles, was a gunner in World War II, and the other one was up in the air. Wasn't Stevie up in the air translating? Who was the translator?
For what?
Who fought in the wars, Pat? Everybody fought. He was in Korea.
Yeah, he said Korea. Was he infantryman in Korea or Air Force in Korea?
But I was not in Korea. I was in Germany and Italy and all in place, French Morocco. But then I was in New York for 2 years. So
Wow.
I had a rough.
Did you ever see Bob? Did you ever see Bob Hope, man?
Bob.
No, but I tell you what,
Okay.
back in Pennsylvania, I was making a headboard for a guy, and he was Bob Hope's manager there for a
See?
while.
Okay. All right.
But I was in service from 52 to 56.
Nice, man. Nice.
So that's
Thank you.
going back a few
Now,
years.
tell him about Uncle Tommy. What are
My brother Tom, I
Okay.
have 2 brothers. My brother Tom was in World War II.
Right.
I'm a destroyer. He was in the war big time. And then I was a Korean War veteran. And my other brother, my younger brother, was in Vietnam.
Wow.
In the Air Force.
Okay.
That's
Wow.
3 guys fought for our country.
Yes, sir.
And you wonder why I'm pro-military.
Yeah, I see that.
Listen,
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm pro-military being safe and being stronger than China and not funding fucking
I know, but
lunatics
come on,
in
guys. Let's not be
Syria.
offended by the United States of American beautiful old glory flag here.
I
okay?
mean, I kind of think with the military question you had earlier, just like in America, we have rogue cops and rogue people that do certain things that make all cops look bad. Maybe who's to say that certain factions in the military in Israel or wherever they're stationed, maybe they're rogue groups that do things that make them hate the whole military, that make them hate Americans in general, because a lot of people get bombed. A lot of civilians
Counterintelligence
get
all
hurt.
over the place. You
I don't
kidding me?
think, I don't think it's the military as a whole, and I think there does need to be some type of presence, because if you leave a void, that void's gonna get filled with a lot of bad people.
Well, that's the problem with the president being in control of the military.
Okay.
Is that you get a bad president doing the worst things with all of our.
That's your opinion. I
best
like him
people.
a lot.
You talking about Netanyahu? Who you talking about? Which president?
I'm pro-Trump, I guess you can say, and
You're very pro-Trump. It's ridiculous. Don't worry about it. We still love you.
just please don't cancel my friendship with you guys, or if you don't agree.
The show's
No,
canceled.
no.
Everything's canceled.
Just don't get a MAGA hat.
Cancel. I say I like Trump. It's canceled.
She's got a Kanye
No,
hat.
just don't get a MAGA hat.
Go get a Kanye hat.
I'm
I'll
kidding.
get a Kanye hat. Actually, you know what? Seeing him run, I'm like, You know?
I think Kanye. I think Kanye is a very, very, very
Positive
important piece in this.
Yeah.
Him saying he's being willing to run against Trump shows that he had an awakening around Democrats. Him saying he'll run against Trump is kind of like having a wake up against Republicans.
You know what? Maybe he
So
runs
it's
as
very
a third.
smart.
He might run as a third party because that's the big.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. Birthday
He runs as an
party.
independent. You know, we could break apart
He
this
is.
madness. You know what I mean? That's what we need to do. We need to really kind of create that triad.
He's got a vice president from where he lives in Montana.
He
so
does?
it's that's what he's saying. I don't know her name or his name.
I thought it was gonna
But
be Candace Owens or Diamond and Silk. Can they run together?
Oh, come on, that's like.
I don't think so. I hope
Kidding.
not.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But an Owens vice president would make me really dislike Kanye, whereas I'm inclined to like him with Musk background.
We're all gonna be singing gospel by the election. Let's just.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that,
bro.
Just accept that right now.
Glory be
Hey,
be
have
to
you
God.
seen this stuff?
I'll probably be playing R. Kelly before I play some of this new gospel stuff, so I doubt that.
Oh no!
Anyway, guys, I love you.
no.
This was Red
No,
Bokeh.
you gotta be
Kelly.
strict and not play the pedophile music.
Oh, come on, stop
bro.
it.
Cancel
Okay, so
R.
this is
Kelly
who we
for
are.
sure.
We have-
Cancel R. Kelly.
Cancel R. Kelly in a big way.
Okay, here, guys, I'm recording. I want to close this show out. Okay, so
Yeah.
today's show, obviously, we had a nice introduction by the Red Bokeh Society. Our hosts here, myself, Natasha Pelak, Truth Now, and Imantrek. We had a great talk. I think that next time we're going to also cover some interesting subjects. We put some bets down to see whether or not this lady with Giselle Maxwell, if she's gonna live, or I'll put $5 on that she lives.
$5. Okay. That she lives. $5 that she lives.
That
Okay.
she lives. If you want to get in touch with us, we're
How
gonna
long? 6 months? 4 months? I'll take that bet.
Yeah, more money.
I think she's gonna live. Now next week, I think we could do another show.
Okay.
I think we'll try to push it out Fridays
Okay.
or
Friday.
Mondays. It's other Monday morning. We're gonna have to figure out when we want to push this out. But,
The Monday
you
morning.
want to Monday morning. Get your week started off right.
Or maybe Sunday evening into the Monday morning. I don't know.
Yeah.
Monday morning.
Sunday
I don't know
evening
if we scheduled
nice.
it for like 6 a.m. Monday. You know, to get everyone's mind right. We
Mhm.
gotta find these alpha waves. So Trek, do you want to close out here with you and Truth or what?
Sure. Again, thank you for everyone for tuning in today. We had a great discussion. We got to talk to Grandpa about his veteran escapades. No aliens this time, but hopefully next time. Truth broke it down as always. And again, our graceful host, Natasha, always does a great job. We're all still learning. We can agree to disagree, and just keep it on lock. Red Bokeh Society podcast. Thank you.
Totally. I love everybody. Goodbye. Thanks for listening. And it's always a joy to speak to people who have such great hearts.
Thank you, man.
And let's
keep on growing that. Let's grow that vibe. All right, until next week, we're closing out. Woo!
Good boy.
Peace.
Yeah.